go. We're live. We are live. Jane Velez Mitchell, Jane Unchained. You are meeting the two amazing women, mother and daughter, who run Happy Hen Farm Animal Sanctuary in San Luis Obispo. And Zoe, tell us about the rabbit that you have right there and what his or her rescue story is.
Yeah, so he wants to go down, but here, I'll flip the camera around so you guys can see them. But we just rescued 3 rabbits from 4-H just yesterday. Just yesterday, they arrived at Happy Hen Animal Sanctuary, and they're going to be getting forever homes at a beautiful home in Sacramento. And we are so grateful that they are safe. So 4-H is a youth program, and part of the program is that they, the kids raise animals for slaughter, including little bunnies like these guys. So if we hadn't stepped in and saved these 3 bunnies, they would have gone to slaughter with all of the hundreds of other rabbits, pigs, goats, sheep, and cows that 4-H sends to slaughter every single year. And these programs are really awful because, they're desensitizing children to violence towards innocent little animals.
Let's get a little closer and just see that little face. Zoom in real close and lower so we can see the face. There we go. These animals now, why would we want to train a child and enable a child to care for this animal, let the animal grow and flourish, and then say, now you get to kill the animal or have it killed? I do not understand the mentality. It seems like something out of another century. Dr. Rosenberg, you're Zoe's mom. You are the veterinarian who helps your incredible daughter run this incredible sanctuary in San Luis Obispo. We're going to get to the hens in a second, but I want to get your reaction to, as a mother and a veterinarian, your reaction to this whole concept of getting children to raise animals and then betray the animals by killing them.
Right. So I think the intentions of the people running these 4-H and FFA programs are positive. They want good things for the kids. However, I think it's a very twisted system. These kids, the kids that get involved with FFA and 4-H, they're actually encouraged to get involved because of the very fact that they love animals. And then they develop these bonds with their bunnies or their pig or their lamb. And at the end, the animal has to be killed. And it creates all kinds of, what I've seen, abusive situations, really, between the teachers and the students and the parents and the students, where the students really would like to save their animals and their parents won't let them. And it's honestly emotional abuse, in my opinion.
Well, we invite any of these 4-H on anytime. We'd love to dialogue with them about that. I know that there are programs. You have one, and also Animal Place in Northern California has a program where if the child changes his or her mind, they will take the animal in. And I know that farmed animal sanctuaries get calls all the time from kids. I don't want to kill my animal, please. And it's a big drama. And why do we have to do that? Why do we have to train children to raise animals to kill them? Something we need as a society to take a look at. Now let's go to our breaking news story, which the chickens, the hens, the egg-laying hens that were going to be depopulated, which is a nice word for gassed, killed in a horrific fashion. It is something out of a horror movie. And so instead of that happening, the farmer, who didn't want to kill his chickens, reached out. All these animal activists came, grabbed the chickens. And I just want to show you, because Happy Hen took more than 200 of them in. This mother-daughter team, literally, we called, me and a couple of activists, and they opened their hearts and they opened their doors to these animals, which is not easy. Check out this situation. These are the animals arriving and tasting freedom for the first time after spending their lives in a factory farm. wonderful. First of all, shout out to Dr. Rosenberg and Zoe Rosenberg for taking these animals in. So we have a GoFundMe going. All donations will be matched. We're aiming for $3,500. That will become $7,000. We're so close. We're halfway there. We urge everyone. This is not inexpensive. Dr. Rosenberg, or actually, Zoe, tell us about, first of all, what was like emotionally taking these hens in these boxes.
Yeah, so I mean, we've done big rescues like this in the past. We rescued a few years ago 2 sets of 200 leghorns from factory egg farms. These are not isolated situations, because what happens in the egg industry is that every 18 months to 2 years, they clear out their entire sheds of all of the chickens. They kill them all. They gas them all to death or otherwise kill them. And they do this because when they're 18 months to 2 years old, they have a drop in egg production, and they're no longer considered valuable to the egg industry. And it's just really horrific. As somebody who knows chickens, we work with chickens every single day. To us, they're just our friends. They're individuals. And we see their personalities. We see, all of them have, unique things about them, just like you and I. And knowing that so many, it's weird because we hear these numbers, like thousands of animals are getting killed, but it's so different when you actually know them as individuals, because it's easy to get lost with such big numbers. So being able to help so many chickens at one time, being able to take in over 216 hens at once is really amazing. And I'm so grateful that we were able to help these girls. And they're so sweet. They're so, they've got such big personalities, and I can't even imagine what would have happened to them if the animal care community hadn't stepped up and, made an effort to save their lives.
And if you see me looking down, it's because I'm sharing this video out. I urge everybody to share this video out. Now, Dr. Rosenberg, you are doing the veterinary care. You see that this chicken, one of the more than 200 you took in, is missing feathers. Tell us about the condition of these animals in these factory farms. Can you hear?
Okay. Is that for me? Is that question for me?
No, that's for you.
Yeah. So this hen that you see here is looks like she's molting. They often have very severe molts in the egg farms, and often that's because of controlled lighting and also depriving them of food in order to have them go through a molting cycle where they lose all of their feathers, and then they have a renewed increase in egg production for a short period of time. And it's really kind of torture when they induce the molting. They stop feeding them. They put them in the dark for days on end. And it's really cruel. So a lot of these hens are going through a molt. It appears we have some very featherless hens that came with the rescue.
So Zoe, when you look at these animals, a lot of people, I'll never forget, I was at this hotel and this lady was trying to encourage people to come into her restaurant in the hotel. And she was like, we have this and we have that and we have chicken wings. We have lots of chicken wings. And I went up there and I said, you're just blithely extolling these chicken wings. I said, do you realize that each wing came from an animal that suffered a horrible life and died a torturous death? And she just looked at me like I was just out of my mind. People have been conditioned to believe that chickens are things. Zoe, you work with them, you see them, you are intimately every day, and you too, Dr. Rosenberg, dealing with them. Tell us about their individuality.
Yeah, I mean, we've rescued over 1,000 animals from factory farms, slaughterhouses, and other abusive situations over the past several years, mostly chickens. So we've gotten to meet a lot of chickens, a lot of different chickens. And, we give them all names. We spend time with each of them as individuals. We make sure that they're all getting cared for, and I think one of the things that makes it easier in factory farms to abuse these animals is that there are so many that they don't get any individualized care. But because, you know, we make sure to give each animal special attention, we get to know them and we see how special they are. And, you know, some of them have preferences for certain foods. You know, I had a rooster named Eddie who really loved plums and grapes. Those are his favorite foods. And, you know, we've had chickens who just really love watermelon. And, you know, we had a chicken her name was Dottie. She would come up the stairs in the basement and peck at the door when she wanted to come in the house, to hang out with everybody. Like learned that was how she could get in the house, and she knew if she came in the house she was going to get some treats. So, you know, they're just like dogs, really. I mean, they're dogs in a different body, and there's really no reason that we should treat them any differently than we would a dog, a cat, and a fellow human, because they're the same. They're just in a different body.
I agree. And because the vast majority of animals that are consumed or who are consumed, at least in the United States, and I think it is pretty global, are chickens. If we were to eliminate chicken consumption, we would reduce the number of animals being killed radically by something like 95%. Do you know that most people have no idea that all the male chicks are ground up alive? That they don't need male chicks, so they ground them up alive, or they put them in giant plastic bags and let them chirp themselves to death. It's sociopathic. It's sadistic. It's immoral. It doesn't take a religious leader to say, you're going to take all the boys, and there they are. You see the pictures. They just sort them out. Boy, girl, boy, girl. The boys are all just literally going into a macerator. When people eat eggs, they think they're giving up meat, but they're actually killing twice, because the boys are macerated, and then the girls who become the egg-laying hens are gassed according to a contractual agreement with the big five families. Like I said, organized crime. There's the big 5 or 6 meat companies that run the whole show. The farmers are really warehouse operators. They're not really farmers in the traditional sense of what we think of, you know, Little House on the Prairie farmers. No, these are giant warehouses where these animals are kept in industrialized condition like they're widgets, but they're not widgets. Let's look at the video one more time because it's so adorable. Open your hearts, give something. These people, this mother-daughter team they're working around the clock. They're up until midnight, and then they're up at 4 working around the clock, because the world needs to change its attitude toward chickens if we're going to survive as a human species. I just love that video. I could watch it all day long like a child. Dr. Rosenberg, tell us about the condition that, in other words, you have to do a lot of veterinary care when these animals arrive. There's deworming and various other things. Can you give us an outline? Because people want to know, what am I giving money to? Well, these animals don't just show up. They've got to be fed. They've got to be given veterinary care. There's predator fencing and all sorts of other nuances. Tell us, Dr. Rosenberg.
Right. So, and actually we thought initially that only 100 hens were coming, and then actually 216 hens ended up being rescued. So we kind of scrambled a little bit to make a place for all of them and opened our hearts to all of them. It's been a huge project, and they do come with a lot of underlying health problems. Because they have been bred to lay so many eggs every year. It's unnatural. It's very hard on their little bodies. And in addition to that, they are kept in conditions of extreme confinement, even on so-called free-range farms. They, instead of being in a cage of wire, they're really just in a cage of other hens. And so the filth is unbelievable. They never clean the barns. That's literally the standard. They've never cleaned the barns. Even sometimes between flocks, they don't kill or they don't clean the barns. And so these chickens, they are, in pretty rough condition. We immediately went ahead and ran a fecal flotation test to check for intestinal parasites, and they did come up positive for a roundworm that actually carries a protozoal parasite that can make turkeys very sick. So, of course, we immediately began treatment to get this in control, and that was 2 years ago, and we've since cleared them of that parasite. But as the days have passed, they've been here now for almost 3 weeks. As the days have gone by, various conditions in certain individuals have revealed them. Early on, we had Katya and Gigi came into our ICU. We have actually an entire ICU where we treat sick animals, and I have a veterinary clinic there. And so, we had hens come in with pneumonia and various other issues that I can get into in a bit.
And it also raises the question. First of all, I want to give a shout out to the farmer. My belief is that the people who are in this system are also trapped. As Dr. Silas Rao of climatehealers.org says, we are all being factory farmed. They are put in onerous loans. They make literally sometimes pennies on these animals. They don't want to depopulate. It's gruesome and agonizing for them. And that's why this farmer in Northern California called and said, come and get them. And he literally, according to people who were doing the rescue, helped carry the hens out to the trucks of the animal activists. And he himself said it was a liberation. So a lot of these farmers want out. Part of the problem is that they're contractually obligated to do certain things. And they may not have realized it when they first started. I think we need to take a whole look at this system and realize that, now that we've got the COVID pandemic and animals are being backed up and the farmers are being told to kill them by the millions in a horrific process, the depopulation video is almost unwatchable. It's worse than the worst slasher film you've ever seen. It's so clearly morally reprehensible that anyone who can't see that, I think, needs to go see a therapist, Zoe.
Yeah, what's happening right now is, what's happening to these animals, period, is just awful. But what's happening, especially right now with coronavirus, is even worse. And, we've seen chicken farms all over the world killing massive numbers of their chickens. This horrible toxic foam that suffocates them. We've seen farms worldwide burying pigs alive, burying chickens alive. And we just did an investigation as DXC into farms in Iowa where they were basically cooking pigs alive in a process called ventilation shutdown. So, we just did a big release exposing that. We had a whistleblower on the case, and we really just showed the world what was happening to these animals in light of coronavirus. And, what happened to these animals. And I just want to make it clear that this isn't just happening because of coronavirus. It's worse because of coronavirus, but this is normal practice in the industry. And touched on, the farmer, the victims too, because, they've got major corporations telling them that they need to do these horrible things to animals. There's hierarchy, and the people at the top of the hierarchy kind of control everybody below. And, we've got the farm supervisors who hire, minimum wage, often immigrants, often, honestly, even in the United States, human slaves who've had their passports stolen as, a threatening mechanism that is very common in animal agriculture. So it's definitely very important that we don't villainize the people within the industry who are, from their perspective, just doing what they need to do in life.
I agree, and
so that we can
goes right to the
animals.
slaughterhouse workers, who are the lowest rung of the economic ladder. They often have no choice, and it always strikes me as tragically ironic that people who are running around congratulating themselves about how spiritual they are, ahimsa, are co-signing the violent killing of all these animals. The average human eats at least 10,000 animals in their lifetime, while exploiting people so they have to actually go in there and do the slaughter, getting all sorts of things from psychological stress, depression, alcoholism, drug addiction, carpal tunnel syndrome, PTSD. So they can run around saying, oh, I'm eating a chicken because I'm on a keto diet, but I'm a spiritual person. It's enough to drive you mad. And it's one thing not knowing, but honestly, Dr. Rosenberg, for 20 years now, or even longer, PETA's been in existence for 40 years. These undercover videos have been out there. You would have to be willfully blind not to know that factory farms are absolutely horrific. What do you say to those people who, first of all, now slaughterhouse workers are dying? Here's a picture of one. This is a slaughterhouse worker who is photographed inside a hospital. Okay. So there's a whole campaign, boycott meat if you care about workers. So for those people who sometimes say, well, I care about people. Well, we care about people too. We'd like to eliminate human world hunger because animals are the most inefficient food source. They eat far more than they produce as food. But what do you say to these people who say, I'm a humanitarian, I'm a progressive, I'm even a liberal, I care about workers' rights, I care about social justice, but they can't connect their diet to all the injustice that's happening?
Right. Oh, that's just a situation. And I think at a certain level, we need to call those people out with compassion. I think, these are good people who mean well. And I think it's just, unfortunately, people have a very hard time changing. And I think that human beings are incredibly good at just kind of compartmentalizing their actions and kind of deciding that one thing is okay, but one thing is bad, justifying how they're still good people, which they are still good people. We're all on a continuum of change in this world, and we're all trying to be better and cause less harm. I think there's a big problem with, my own colleagues who actually earn a living off of this industry because they're veterinarians for these large corporations. And I think, it's very hard to fight against an industry when your livelihood depends upon that industry succeeding. But I think we need to appeal to a higher level inside of them. We need to tap into what really is spiritual about them and the loves that I'm sure they do have buried deep down inside, and maybe they don't even realize it.
Yeah, and I do feel like coronavirus is exposing the dark underbelly of this industry like never before. Oh my gosh, Zoe, tell us.
This is actually Diane. She's not from this last rescue, but from the ICU. She's one of our permanent residents in our ICU, but she was actually just rescued from a factory egg farm a few months ago, and she's named after Diane Gandy Sorby, who's an amazing animal rights who passed away a few months ago. Diane had fought so hard for the animals and had been arrested so many times speaking up for them. And, our entire community was obviously heartbroken at her loss. So we did the one thing that we know she would have appreciated more than anything else, and we rescued this little girl here, and we named her Diane. And she was just in a horrible place.
Yeah, can you get the
And she's
camera
such a
closer to her
sweetheart.
face? Look at this. This is an individual. This is not a thing. This is an individual. Is her beak sheared?
Yeah, so their beaks are cut. Hers isn't too bad. Some of them are pretty bad. Yeah, let me turn the camera around. Sorry.
Sure.
Maybe not.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah. There we go. Look at her.
So her beak is, you can see it's kind of dull at the tip. Normally it would be like a fine point. And that's because they burn the tips of their beaks off, or cut the tips of their beaks off. They either burn or cut them. And this is because they're kept in such tight confinement that if they don't trim their beaks, then they will literally peck each other to death. So instead of giving them, they mutilate them, and they do this without any anesthetics, no pain relief, and it's extremely painful. I mean, people sometimes I think that maybe their beaks are like something. They're not. They have tons of nerve endings. They're very, very sensitive. So it's painful, and it can actually cause lifelong pain when their beaks are cut in this way. So it's super horrendous. And yeah, that did happen to Diane. And sometimes you can see hers it's not bad enough that she has trouble eating or anything, but sometimes we have had hens from the egg industry who've had their beaks cut so badly can barely eat food.
Wow. Well, you guys are my heroes. We'll keep plugging away to get this fundraiser up to the $3,000 or $3,500 mark so that we can get the matching funds for $7,000. All of this is extremely expensive. Not only that, but they've got to maintain the sanctuary itself. There's costs associated with running a nonprofit. Let's help them out. Let's not put the entire burden on their shoulders. They've done so much. Let's all chip in. If everybody watching chipped in 10, 15 bucks, we could reach our goal, get our matching, and it would be absolutely fantastic. So we're going to keep spreading this. We'll put it on Instagram and just share this out, everybody, and share it out to your pre-vegan friends, because while we're killing them, they're killing us. With climate change, with habitat destruction, wildlife extinction, human world hunger, and human disease like heart disease and cancer, not to mention pandemics. There's an avian flu that is posing a danger, as well as a swine flu. So it's really just getting the dead animals off our plate, and the dead animal byproducts is the solution to so many of our problems. I want to thank Dr. Rosenberg and Zoe Rosenberg, two of my heroes. I know you're so busy. Thank you for taking the time. And we'll make this happen.
Thank you so much, Jane.
Thank you, Jane.
Have a great one. Bye.
You too. Bye.